So, more than just a few times, I've talked about Haggai 2, verses 20 through 22, I believe it was. And I believe it's also in either Daniel 2 or Daniel 7. I'll go to those. I'll go to Haggai 2. But I've gone over and over about how one of the things to look for at the time of the end is when the governments of Israel's enemies are overthrown. Israel's enemies, you know, the ones in Europe. That's where the majority of Israel had been scattered for thousands of years and have been hunted and butchered and pillaged and raped. In the name of Jesus, it has been done. And so these nations are going to be overthrown. It is written more than once in the prophets, and it is described how it will happen and what will happen when it happens. How Jehovah, the Ancient of Days, our Father in heaven, will come down. In his glory, and he will rededicate the city of Jerusalem. On the day of dedication, he's going to do it. It's written in Haggai 2. That is the day when the kingdoms start coming down. All right, we'll go to Haggai 2, and things are happening in Europe that do appear like something like this is bubbling up. All right? Haggai 2. We'll start with verse 10. And before verse 10, Jehovah is talking to Zerubbabel through the prophet Haggai, telling him what to do about the temple, the second temple, how to build it, and how it would be greater than Solomon's temple. And yes, the second temple was greater, and the third temple was even greater than the second temple. Yes, there was a third temple. The third temple was the addition of Herod's temple. So, in the verse 10, in the 24th day of the 9th month. No, not the Roman calendar. I had so many people assume that it was talking about the Roman calendar. Roman calendar didn't even exist back then. No, this is the Hebrew calendar. Go do your due diligence and look it up. In the second year of Darius came the word of Jehovah by Haggai the prophet, saying, Thus saith Jehovah of hosts. And he goes on and starts laying down principles. And then he says, on that day, consider this day and upward. Verse 18, consider now this from this day and upward, from the 24th day of the 9th month, even the day that the foundation of Jehovah's temple was laid, consider it. So we have a specific command. The day of dedication of the temple. He's saying, do not forget it. Don't you ever forget it. but remember it and consider it each and every year. So what do? Obey his word. Verse 19, is the seed yet in the barn? Yes, as yet the vine and the fig tree and the pomegranate and the olive tree hath brought forth from this day, he's speaking to Israel, will I bless you. So the great blessing, Jehovah's great mercy, forgiveness of sin, reconciliation back to him begins on that day, the 24th day of the 9th month. What else begins on that day? Verse 20, and again the word of Jehovah came unto Haggai in the 24th day of the month. That was the same month. It's because it says, and again, means on the same day. Jehovah spoke to Haggai again, saying, speak to Zerubbabel, governor of Judah, saying, I will shake the heavens and the earth, and I will overthrow the thrones of kingdoms. I will destroy the strength of the kingdoms of the heathen. I will overthrow the chariots and those that ride in them, and the horses and their riders shall come down, every one by the sword of his brother. In that day, what day? The 24th day of the 9th month. Will I take you, O Zerubbabel, my servant, the son of Shealtiel, saith Jehovah, and I will make you a sign. Zerubbabel is the sign. What is the sign of Zerubbabel? The call to rebuild Jerusalem. The call to rebuild Jerusalem once again happened in June 7, 1967 on the Roman calendar, and if you count 7 sevens according to Daniel 9, you come to Shavuot of 2016. The Jubilee year that comes after completes the entire cycle and begins a new set of 49s. Which means the Jubilee ended a few months ago, as I've said over and over and over again. What are we waiting for? 24th day of the 9th month. Is that what we're waiting for? Take a look around. Look at the news. First it was Catalonia. Finally, Catalonia has a vote to break away from Spain. The police came in there and beat the people up, abused them. They were not, the people of Catalonia were not violent. The authorities were violent. And now today, it has been reported, I think it's on the Daily Express, or UK Express maybe. There's another one that's on the UK Express. Well, on the UK Express it says Madrid will seize all powers. Shock warning as independence looms. Apparently it was on another British paper. Another British publication where they sent the police in, or not the police, but the army in to just take over Catalonia. Now, if that wasn't enough, something else is happening. And I was telling my friends that I believe that this Catalonia thing, and I think I posted it on YouTube too, will start the European fall. See, The Arab Spring started in 2011 with the overthrow of, I believe it was in Tunisia, and then it spread to Egypt. And so now what we have is, but before I get to the Italy one, Spanish banks' shares plummet on stock exchange as unrest continues. Now, folks, you have to understand that Catalonia is 1/5 of Spain's gross domestic product. Spain cannot survive without Catalonia. They have to go in there and take over by any means necessary in order to keep their government afloat. Which means if they have to massacre everybody, if that's what they have to do, I don't know if they have to do it or not, that's what they will do. But you see, there are consequences for actions like this. The IBEX 35 stock market index lost 2% on Wednesday, while the Barcelona-based CaixaBank was down 6.7%. Banco Sabadell, Spain's 5th largest bank, also lost 6.3% of its share price. That's one day. One day, folks. The Catalonia-based banks face a potentially See, if Catalonia collapses, Spain collapses. This is a catch-22 for Spain. If they kill the golden goose, which is Catalonia, then they kill themselves. I think you understand what I'm saying now. Now, let's go to what's happening in, where is this? Italy. When one domino falls, the next one is not far behind it. On the UK Express, Italy faces its own Catalonia. Referendums in Lombardy and Venice could topple the EU. This is the headline. Italy could face its own Catalonia-style breakup with controversial referendums scheduled for both Lombardy and Venice. This month, the Lombardy region and the city of Venice will both vote on new powers of autonomy at referendums which are now taking on increasing levels of controversy. Now, here's the reason why it's controversial. You see, just like Spain, there are certain regions of Italy whose budgets are in the black. They have a balanced budget, while the rest of the country is in the red. And you see, Catalonia feels like they're pulling all of Spain's load. Same thing with Venice and Lombardy region. Lombardy region. Oh, these ads on these British publications are ridiculous. But anyway, so with that being the backdrop here, this month the Lombardy region and the city of Venice will both vote on new powers of autonomy at referendums which are now taking place in increasing levels of controversy. Previously seen as a low-scale vote on local powers, the referendums are now experiencing symbolic overtones following last Sunday's Catalonian chaos. Last weekend, more than 800 people were injured by police as a referendum on independence for Catalonia was held against the express wishes of the leaders in Madrid and Brussels. Notice it says Brussels. And now Italy is facing a similar chaos with its two referendums set to be held on October 22nd. Although in these instances the votes are state approved and will not face violent opposition. Oh, No big deal, Henry, right? Wrong. The autonomy referendums for Lombardy, a region which includes Italy's second largest city of Milan and the travel hotspot of Venice, will also differ from Catalonia in that they are not binding. The referendums will ask voters if they want their regional council to invoke the third paragraph of Article 116 of the Italian Constitution. This allows regions with a balanced budget, remember what I said? To ask the Italian government to entrust them with new powers and a greater degree of autonomy. The consequences of 2 yes votes could be shattering for Italy, sparking other separatist movements across the European Union nation. And it continues. And of course, Brussels will do anything to stop this, because you see, Brussels wants a united Europe. But Brussels does not read the scripture. Daniel. So, which countries are going to be overthrown? Let's go to Daniel 7. All right. The last beast, which starts in verse 7. And after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. Beast of iron, folks. Beast of iron, yes. Europe, with Rome as its head. It devoured and broke in pieces and stamped the residue with its feet, and was different from all the other beasts that came before it. Yes, you see, because the other beasts that came before it were or most of the nations were actually on the other side of the Bosphorus, with the exception of Greece, but most of the Grecian Empire was indeed on the other side of the Bosphorus. Okay. It had 10 horns. I considered the horns. Now, I have done several videos naming each and every one of these horns. There were 3 horns that were uprooted: the Heruli, the Vandals, and the Ostrogoths. They were uprooted by the man at the Vatican, which makes the man at the Vatican the 11th horn. Verse 8, and I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn. Little horn. His eyes were like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. Verse 9, and I beheld till the thrones were cast down. So this continued until, what is the first thing that happens? What is the first thing that happens? Before anything else, the thrones are cast down. And the Ancient of Days did sit. Does it say the Ancient of Days did sit and the thrones were cast down? That's not exactly what it says. It says, I beheld till the thrones were cast down and the Ancient of Days did sit. Are we going to see the European Union being toppled before our very eyes? very soon. We saw the example of the Arab Spring. How many Arab countries were toppled by the Arab Spring? But that's not what we're looking for. We are looking for the 10 horns and the 11th horn being toppled. It is those thrones that will be cast down, and then the Ancient of Days will sit in judgment, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like pure wool. His throne was like a fiery flame, so he's sitting on his throne on the earth at this point. So the nations' thrones are toppled, just exactly as it says in Haggai 2, that we have read, and he comes down and sits on his throne. And a fire stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands and thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were open. And I beheld then, because of the voice of the great words which the horn, the little horn, the man at the Vatican spoke. And his body was destroyed and given to the burning flame. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away. They were overthrown. How again does it say that they're going to be overthrown? By the sword of their own brother. Yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. That means they were locked up in prison. And I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with a cloud, singular, of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, who was sitting on his throne on the earth. And they, that would be the angels, brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom. What kingdom? The kingdom of David, as it is written in the prophets in Jerusalem, which shall never pass away, and his kingdom which shall never be destroyed. So it appears that in Daniel 7, we have sequence. We have timelines. We have order. The nations of Europe will be overthrown first, according to Daniel 7. And according to Haggai 2, at the same time, that is when Jehovah is going to begin to bless, reconcile with, forgive the sins of, bring back all the people of Israel, leaving none left behind, and he will have mercy on Israel. Not for Israel's sake, not because Israel was somehow righteous, no, because Jehovah never lies. Every word that comes out of his mouth is the truth. He does not change. As Paul said in Romans 11, that blessing, that promise cannot be changed. It shall be done because his word means everything to him. So it's for his name's sake. It's for Jehovah's reputation's sake. So Jehovah, our Father in heaven, says to always watch out for the 24th day of the 9th month on the Hebrew calendar. If you do not know what day that is, I told you it was the day of the dedication of the temple. If you still don't know what it is, you need to find out, and you need to do it quickly. And you need to never, ever forget it. To always remember it, as it says in Haggai 2. Do I believe that the dominoes are starting to fall in Europe? Yes, I do. What is the 24th day of the 9th month? Well, the Roman calendar calls it December 11th or 12th. I'm not sure which one it is. Pay attention. Watch Europe.